Take a look at this image from the bottom of the ocean, 3 miles deep, about 1,000 miles west of Morocco, as found in Google Earth. This rectangular grid looks like the buried ruins of an ancient civilization, a huge civilization, nearly 1/4 the size of Portugal. Soon after this image was discovered, during the first decade of this century, there was a blitz of discussion about it that spread across the internet. Many people said that they had finally discovered evidence of the lost civilization of Atlantis. Well, it did not take long before some scientists weighed in on the discussions, and they dismissed this image as simply the result of what they called ship tracks. Well, these underwater images in Google Earth come from sonar or echo sounding that is performed by ships that are under contract, usually by the United States Navy. Thus, these data are gathered and eventually released by the United States government. Now remember, these are governmental data, a fact that will be important as I explain further. The ships that collect these data are required to move in straight lines as they picture what is on the bottom of the ocean. The data are clearest directly under where the ships travel. Off to the sides of a ship's path, the data are fuzzier. Thus, if a ship does not cover all of the territory in overlapping back and forth trips, the data reveal what is called a ship track. Again, remember that ship tracks are two exactly parallel lines with high-resolution imagery between the two lines and fuzzy imagery outside of the two lines. Here is an example of ship tracks that appear in Google Earth. Note that the resolution of the ocean bottom is high in between the two parallel edges and fuzzy outside of these straight edges. The ship that took this sonar reading followed a path that is exactly above this very straight ship track. Now, drunken captains who produce wavy ship tracks are not allowed. Ship tracks are straight. Here is another example of ship tracks. Again, note the high-resolution quality of the image in between the parallel lines and the fuzzy quality outside of those lines. Now let's look again at the so-called Atlantis image at the bottom of the ocean. Do these look like ship tracks to you? Well, they don't to me. They are not straight, and they are clearly not high-resolution images in between two parallel lines with fuzzy stuff outside of these lines. It does not take a genius to see the obvious. In my view, these are clearly not ship tracks. The question is, what are they? Now, if you stick with me, we will explore what these things are on the bottom of the ocean and what they really represent. I am Courtney Brown, and I am a scholar in the field of remote viewing, as it is performed using methods that were developed by the United States military and used for espionage purposes, or methods that are derivative of those procedures. I am also the director of the Farsight Institute, the leading civilian scientific institute that supports research into the remote viewing phenomenon using these types of structured data collection methodologies. Now, remote viewing is a mental process that allows highly trained individuals to accurately perceive what is called targets, which are places, events, and people across time and space. People who use these procedures are called remote viewers, and when they are really good, they can describe such things in great detail without being told anything in advance about what they are assigned to perceive. That's a condition known as working blind. Now, there are only a few highly trained remote viewers in the world today. That's a situation that needs to be addressed seriously in the near future. But a few highly skilled remote viewers do exist now, and they are capable of supplying perceptual data that are what some call scary good. Now, I won't have time today to go into much background regarding the science of remote viewing, but if you want more of that, I suggest that you go to the website for the Farsight Institute, where you can find a huge amount of material, including published, peer-reviewed scientific research. Well, as you can see, I did not believe the ship track explanation as the cause of the underwater anomaly west of Morocco. The data are, as I mentioned earlier, governmental data. And I have long learned to form my own opinions with respect to lots of things released by governments, which often seem to have their own agendas and which may not want people to know certain things for various reasons. In short, I don't rely on authorities to do my thinking for me. Now, throughout this presentation, I am hoping that you will do the same. This so-called Atlantis anomaly is perfect for this sort of puzzle solving. Here we have a clear Google Earth image with an anomaly on the bottom of the ocean, a seemingly authoritative story explaining the anomaly in a way that I personally do not find credible, and the ability to use remote viewing to sort out what is what. In 2013, Farsight released a remote viewing project on this anomaly. It was our first project where a small amount of the remote viewing was conducted live on video. Since then, all of Farsight projects involve complete video recordings of the essential remote viewing sessions, all recorded live under scientifically clean conditions, and we have long wanted to update our early Atlantis results with a new documentary that more closely matched the quality and style of our more recent work. What you are watching now is that new and fully revised release of our early Atlantis project. And in this release, we are including complete remote viewing sessions that are as riveting to watch as they are informative. The remote viewers for this project are Dick Allgeier and Princess Genet. Both are among the most talented remote viewers on the planet currently. Dick Allgeier has a well-documented public track record of remote viewing in Farsight projects that stretches back a great many years. Princess Genet is a more recent and younger addition to our Farsight projects, and she represents a new generation of remote viewers who are going to take remote viewing research into the rest of this century in exciting and new ways. She has had more one-on-one training in remote viewing than anyone I know, approximately 400 hours stretched over a 9-month period. She has many video entries in Farsight's Young Masters series, which is available on our website and YouTube, and she was featured as the principal remote viewer in Farsight's project on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As with Dick Allgeier, Princess is at the level of what we like to call scary good. Princess is particularly important to this current Atlantis project because Dick Allgeier participated in our original release on this topic, and since all remote viewing must be done totally blind, it was impossible for him to do further work for this new release. We needed a new viewer who had never seen our early Atlantis work and someone who was capable of remote viewing at a level of our current standards. As you will soon see for yourself, we were fortunate that Princess was available to work on this project under clean and blind conditions. The remote viewing alone for this project took approximately a year total to complete. There were lots of remote viewing sessions and lots of targets to examine. There were also a large number of things that needed to be accomplished prior to initiating the remote viewing component of the project. Throughout the data collection period of the project, both Dick Allgeier and Princess Genet were kept totally blind to the nature of the project or any of the specific targets. They had no idea what they were being assigned to remote view. They were only told there was a target, and they were told to remote view it. They also did all of their work solo, which means that they were alone when remote viewing, and thus there was no one present who could have influenced their results. This is true for both the paper sessions as well as the video sessions. For the paper sessions, after typically more than an hour of work for each session, the viewers each supplied between 10 and 20 pages of detailed data, including sketches describing each target. Dick Algire also did one video session for this project recorded back in 2012, while Princess Janae did 4 video sessions, all recorded in 2016. All the video sessions were recorded live and unrehearsed. Well, as it turns out, 2 months prior to us completing the initial data collection phase of our project in early 2012, Google Earth announced a new version of its underwater imagery. And yes, as you can imagine, most, but not all of the so-called Atlantis anomaly was erased from the new imagery. Keep in mind that all Google Earth data are governmental in origin. Well, some scientists happily announced that this new version of Google Earth fixed problems with the old data, and thus most of the anomaly went away. Gone were the stories about ship tracks, almost as if that had not happened. This obviously sounded suspicious to me, so I took a look at the new images on Google Earth. What I found was what I consider to be obvious evidence of extreme compression processes being applied to the ocean bottom imagery data. Processes that smooth the elevation changes and obliterate the color gradients found in the original data. Now, with raw imagery data, each pixel has its own color, but raw data images have really large file sizes, and Google Earth must deal with compressed images in order to reduce these file sizes. Normally, this causes few problems, but if the compression is extreme in certain locations, then you don't see any detail since many adjoining pixels are given the exact same color value. How do you tell if this is happening? The telltale sign is if there are large patches in an image that have straight edges that follow pixel lines, and within the patches, all pixels have the same color. With all pixels having the same color, there are no visible details within the patches since the color gradients have been removed. Now here is a picture of the new Google Earth image of the anomaly found west of Morocco. Note that the anomaly is barely visible. Now, let's show you what happens to the image as we focus on some particular patches of the picture. First, let's take the color completely out of the image and also increase the image's contrast. That allows us to see the color gradients in terms of shades of gray. Note that the color gradients are nearly all gone, as can be seen by the fact that there are only a few shades of gray. Also, there are large patches that follow the pixel lines in which the interior of the patches have only one shade of gray and show no detail at all. In those patches, the color gradients have been completely destroyed. Now, let's do the exact same thing to the original image, take out the color, and increase the contrast by the exact same amount. Notice that the color gradients have much greater clarity, as evidenced by the existence of many shades of gray. Also, notice that there are far fewer patches with only one shade of gray, and those that exist are much smaller than those in the newer image. This is exactly what is destroyed by the application of extreme compression processes to images. In my view, nothing has been fixed with the new Google Earth imagery. As I see it, the anomaly has only been partially erased through extreme image compression. The anomaly is still there, even with the new version. It is just no longer so glaringly easy to see. Now remember that these data are governmental data, and governments keep secrets. Let me be clear that I am not claiming that any particular academic, scholar, scientist, or anyone else was influenced by the government to corrupt Google Earth data. Indeed, since the government owns the data, the government can do whatever it wants with the data before those outside of the government get their hands on it, including academics. All I am saying is that I personally do not blindly trust any image or any official or authoritative explanation of an image, especially with respect to sensitive topics. Using remote viewing, I can collect my own data and see what is real and what is not real. If you follow along with me, you can too. If the Google Earth images are the result of ship tracks, we can confirm that with remote viewing. If they are not the result of ship tracks, we can find out what they really represent. So, we have what appears to be a conflict. We have an original image and a story that explains away that image. Then we have a newer image and a completely new story that explains away that image. If the first story was not plausible, at least to me, why should I accept the second story at face value? How long will it take before the second story is discarded as summarily as was the first? In short, in an age of digital manipulation of imagery, there is virtually no way to believe any image, be it of an image of a UFO, an anomaly on the surface of Mars, or what appears to be ruins on the bottom of the ocean. Pictures are no longer trustworthy. We need a new way, another way, to find out the truth. Now, there were 8 targets total for this project. Targets are the places and events that remote viewers are supposed to perceive when remote viewing. Targets in this study were designed by myself to evaluate their current state as well as how the targets looked before they ended up on the bottom of the ocean. Also, I wanted to know about the event that may have caused them to end up on the ocean floor. There are 2 places that are examined in this study, both of which suggest significant amounts of what we might call artificiality or, bluntly, civilization evidence. The first place is the anomaly just discussed off the coast of Morocco and Spain, but the second is a series of what appear to be regularly spaced holes in the ocean bottom off the coast of Antarctica. Here is the Google Earth image of this anomaly. Notice the rectangular patterning of the markings in the image. These are clearly not whale droppings or anything natural in the Mother Nature sense of the word. The question is, what are they? When the new version of Google Earth came out, the striking visual appearance of these anomalies were diminished but not eliminated entirely. Thus, both anomalies persist even in the new version of Google Earth. Again, it is not a good idea, in my opinion, to put blind faith in any image these days. Even teenage Photoshoppers can create images that are strikingly realistic. We need another way to discern the truth, another way that can be replicated by others, albeit with significant effort in terms of experimental design and remote viewing training. Now, for both target locations, 3 target taskings run in parallel. Dick Allgaier did paper sessions and 1 video session for these 6 targets involving both geographical locations, as well as 1 other target. Princess Genet was tasked with the first 3 targets that addressed the anomaly at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean only, as well as 1 other target. For each target, both words and an image were used to define what the remote viewer should perceive. The image is the exact same for all related targets. Basically, the targets were designed to have the viewers first describe the anomalies at the bottom of the ocean as they exist now. Second, how the targets looked when they were in their prime before they were located at the bottom of the ocean. And third, the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean. The exact wording of the targets can be found on the website for the Farsight Institute. Thus, what we hope to have with this design is a series of remote viewing sessions that describe the cause of the patterns on the ocean bottom as shown in the 2 target images, as well as what the target locations looked like when they were in their prime, and finally, the events that destroyed them by sending them to the ocean bottom. Since there are 2 target images and 3 target taskings for each image, there are a total of 6 primary targets for this project. However, an additional target was added to each of the geographical locations, yielding a total of 8 targets total. Dick Allgaier did the extra target for the Antarctica anomaly and Princess Genée did the extra target for the Atlantic Ocean anomaly. These targets reveal what will likely be a great surprise to everyone. Let's now dive into the results of this study. What did the remote viewers find on the bottom of the ocean in those two locations? Let's begin with the results of Dick Allgaier for the first target, which is a bit over 3 miles or 5 kilometers down on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Morocco and Spain. Again, for this target, the viewer is supposed to describe what is now at the bottom of the ocean. As would be expected, the viewer did describe a harsh and natural landscape with what appears to be flat land, with what he initially thinks is a crater in the center, surrounded by distant mountains. In the same area, he describes deep lines or furrows in the otherwise flat surface. There are also structures along these furrows that are spaced out at even intervals. He describes these things as similar to underground catacombs with what appear to be lots of human skulls and other fossils. The viewer then clearly describes a vast underground city with connecting tunnels. The buildings are absolutely huge, bigger than our largest buildings of today. One underground facility he describes as the size of 10 superdomes, where presumably he is referring to the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Well, interestingly, the viewer also perceives significant sources of electrical energy at the target, suggesting that whatever is the root cause of those patterns on the ocean bottom may still be producing some form of electrical power and possibly some heat. The viewer also notes that this is an ancient place, eroded by time. Remember that this target also specifies that the viewer is to describe the meaning, cause, or significance of the patterns that are on the ocean bottom. So this is important because the viewer appears to have gone back in time to perceive the reason why the target is now at the bottom of the ocean. He perceives a large amount of energy. People working on a project that involves technical expertise and analysis, a project that involved drilling deeply into the earth, a large and catastrophic explosion, and the collapse of land with structures into the sea. These are themes that will return often for this project, as you will see. Dick Allgaier also did a video session for this target. It was recorded live while still totally blind to the target. It suggests that there may be something that survived the catastrophic collapse of the location as it sank under the water, something that future archaeologists may be able to examine one day. It is best if you see it for yourself. Now remember, the area under investigation is very large, so in the session you are about to see, Dick Allgaier is focusing on one thing that is in that larger area, something that attracted his attention. Think of yourself flying over a big city, and you notice a particularly large building. You stare at it a long time, noticing all sorts of details. The building is not the entire city, just one building, but it is what you remember when you land and tell friends about what you saw.
Bottom of the ocean. Great depth. Okay? Water. Water. Incredible pressure. This is so weird. It's making my pen isn't writing on the board right. Okay, this is tremendous pressure. And there's these vents where it's stuff oozes up. And there's weird little creatures that live here because it's hot. There's hot things. This is like sulfurous hot, sulfurous, great pressure, uneven, appears natural, but underneath down here, this incredible huge structure. This would be bedrock. Well, down here is bedrock. This has been not carved out, but just like bored out using some kind of like fusion. It just was, the rock was just fused. So here's this big place. So this is sediment. Up here is rocky sediment, but this right here is bedrock. This is bedrock, and here's the structure right here. This big structure that's huge, like a city down here, with looks like the sky. If you look up, it looks like the sky, and it'll change. You can see the sky, you see clouds. The sun will go down, you can see the moon, you can see the sky, you can see the stars at night. But they're not there, it's not projected. It's I don't want to say hologram. It looks three-dimensional when you look up at it, but it's this surface right here. When you look up at it, it has depth and it can change naturally and subtly. You'll see clouds going by. There's no clouds there. This is all under rock, under sediment, under ocean, under great pressure. That is a weird place. This is not, like what kind of technology could build? They didn't just like take a submarine and down and do this. This is interesting place. So there you have it. Where did Courtney Brown send us? I don't know where it is, but I think I know some things about it.
Let's now move to the results obtained by Princess Genet for this first target. Princess's paper sessions were essentially warm-ups for the video session, as is typical of how we do things at Farsight these days. So her core data are all on video, all recorded while she was totally blind to the targets or the nature of the project. And since her data are all on video, we get the pleasure of seeing and hearing her describe the target as it exists on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean currently, all recorded live, solo, and unrehearsed.
Today I'm going to be exploring target 28127773. Okay. I'm getting a lot of natural land type environment, a very long land actually. It seems to be a lot of sand and kind of as far out as you can go. Just going as far as you can actually see it, which is kind of odd. You usually don't see land like that, just land. It seems very sandy, natural sandy, gritty, or it's not rocky, but you know how sand feels. It feels very sandy, and I'm seeing there's some structure out in the distance that I can see. It's very but it's not shaped like your average building. It doesn't even feel like a building. It's almost. Let me see if I can draw what I'm seeing here. Just very. It's almost like they're connected in some way. This marker. With through it, the sand, and it's very it's this place. As I'm standing on the surface, it's very dark and dim. I see a shack like something in the distance, but it's far from the distance. It just looks like a lonely little. It looks like a lonely little square, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing off in the distance right here. Excuse me. There's no foliage at all. There's no there's sound. It is kind of like I hear a roaring or a rushing. Is very warm like, almost plugging my ears to where I can't necessarily hear it. The structure here is very very solid. I can knock on it, but you can't. You don't hear a sound like I'm knocking on the board. You don't hear that. It's just solid, like a rock almost, but it's semi hard. All natural. It's almost like a sandy rock pyramid like thing molded and it feels very ancient, actually, like a pyramid almost, but it seems quite of importance here. It's rugged, but it's smooth at the same time. It feels like it was made by nature, but man probably came and shaped it, if you can kind of get that feel. Like it was formed by nature, but man shaped it. That's why it has that smooth, rugged type feel to it. It's very jaggedish, abandoned like. It doesn't look as put together as I've drawn it. It looks almost rusted, but it's not rust because there's no metal here. It's all natural thing. As I'm standing on the surface here, it's very very dark, very dim, very dark and dim, but I see some cloud dynamics going on here. No stars, and I'm a bit confused because if it's so open, it's wide and open, and you can see up, but it's dark and there's no stars. What type of place doesn't have stars? It almost doesn't feel real. It's like like I was put into a box and you close the lid. That's how it looks. But I'm here and you can see, you can still see. Um, it's it's like you can moving. It's wet, or not necessarily wet, but it's pressure, like I'm underwater, which probably explains the ears. It's like I'm underwater, which explains no stars. You can't see stars from underwater. It's very. It's like I'm in an underwater place or world, but it doesn't. It's not like a city, like your everyday city, but because I don't. There's no buildings. There's no people. No people at all. But me right now. There's no. There's. I feel a form of life, but it's not human. It could possibly be animals or of some sort, but I'm underwater and this is very weird. It puts me in the mind, and don't laugh, but it puts me in the mind of Avatar, the movie where there's a whole, or was a whole world, because this is very abandoned underwater. So, and how do you have cloud dynamics underwater? This is something that's, it doesn't feel like anything I've ever felt before. I've never been anywhere like this before. I've never seen it, not even in a dream, until now. I'm gonna try to go inside these things. I can't necessarily tell what they are. What are you? You feel very pyramid like or mountain like. It's like, is it a home or I can't. I'm really gonna go inside and check and see. There's lots of tunnels, not lots, but it's a long tunnel. I don't want to walk through it by myself. It's a long tunnel, and it's very decayed. You can see open space ahead. I'm gonna go take a look and see where this tunnel leads, and just see what I find. You're walking, I'm walking, and you see decay, drippage, or what looks to be dripping. It is nothing really here. It's kind of just leading to more tunnels. So I'm just gonna keep following it. There's it's sticky. The walls are gooey almost. Like it feels, I guess, like mud, or when something has sat in water for so long, that feeling that it has. That's what the walls of this tunnel feels like. It's this tunnel that I'm in now is a little wider than the first one. It seems to have markings or engravings of some sort on the walls, but you can't really make it out. You can tell that this place has been here for quite some time, almost maybe centuries. it leads, there's this open space. You can kind of see columns or what could have been or used to be columns of some sort. I guess to hold it up because it is an open space. This place, it feels very royal yet very abandoned. Like it was very important at one point in time. The walls are getting bumpy, lumpy. It's not much here, but it feels kind of like it used to be. You know, you can almost feel life there. I'm a movie person. It's kind of like when you're watching something and you can kind of feel what happened here. I feel that life, kind of like I feel it. It's like a temple, but no one is here. No one's been here in centuries. If I don't see much of anything, broken things that I can't necessarily make out. Let me see. Make out. It's something kind of maybe it was a table. You really can't tell what it is. It's very decayed. It's very broken. It's very, if there is anything here or was anything here, it pretty much isn't anymore. This place has not been lived in or touched or probably even seen in centuries, years. It's probably has either decayed completely or somehow disappeared. It's like I'm on another planet almost, but I still feel like I'm on Earth. And I don't it's very weird. It's like it feels so important. Like is this pyramid or mountain or whatever the structure is like what were you? What was it? Was it a home or a burial ground or there's just so many thoughts and questions. If you could talk to the actual structure, I would love to find out. What is this world? This underwater world almost. It just doesn't feel real. It's very, this shack-like thing. If it's underwater, how can it be a shack? It could be pieces of whatever this structure is. It's different. It's not your everyday city, clearly, because it's underwater. It's almost was it there before the water got there? Or was it built under the water? Did this place exist? I can't feel it. I can't tell if this place was here before the water got there. There's just so many thoughts that I have, and that's pretty much all that I see and that I can feel. Again, there's no life, but there's no people. I can't say there's no life because there is life here, but there's no people. There's no lights, no stars, no trees. It's just sand as far as you can go, water, and whatever this structure here is that was very significant to whatever this world is. It's very, very different, and that's really all I can gather from this.
Now let's move on to the second target for this series. Here the viewers are to perceive what the target looked like before it was located at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The target time should be when whatever caused the patterns shown in the image was at its peak or optimal state. Again, starting with the results obtained by Dick Algar, the viewer describes what appears to be a very large and highly advanced industrial city. There are lots of people and they are engaged in work activity that would be typical for a large city. He perceives lots of very large buildings that remind him of some of the large structures in New York City, such as the Empire State Building and Penn Station. Look closely at some of these sketches of the city. We can now compare these results to those obtained independently by Princess Genet. Remember that Princess had not seen any of our earlier results for this project before doing her own remote viewing. She was also under the impression that Farsight would never repeat a project. There was no one more surprised than her when she found out that the project she had been working on for so long was the Atlantis project. This is how Princess perceived the same target when it was in its prime, before sinking to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
Three, 4, 5, 8, 6, 4, 8, 9. Where I'm starting in this target is in the air. I'm in this some type of hovering or flying object. It's very oddly shaped though. It's not like, let me see if I can even, how do I even draw that? It's very, it's got a curved shape to it. It's very odd. That sucks. That's not what I'm seeing. it's kind of looks like, I'm not sure if this is fire or exhaust or whatnot. It's almost shaped. I feel like it's shaped like a shark. It's not like an airplane completely. It's it's got, well, that's the best I can draw it anyway. It's a little wider in angle here, but it's got there's a person. I'm not sure if there's any more people here. It's kind of just, it's artificially made. It's hovering over just this grid type land here. I'm not sure if this is my full target or not. It's very drone like. It feels like it's not, it's a medium sized. It feels like kind of the size of a private jet, but it's not shaped like a jet. It's very just weird ship type thing. Inside of it, inside has panels and controls. I see a chair and table, chairs. There's rows, a table, square table. In there, it's very high tech, like a lot of, like, very computerized. I definitely would not be able to learn how to operate this right now. It's not doing anything weird. It's just flying over this land. It's kind of a grid types land. Let me see, but this is what I see. Of course, a lot wider, a lot bigger, some buildings or whatnot. Just, you kind of get the point there. It's this very grid, but it's very spaced out. It's not anything like that. But I'm just gonna see what this guy is really thinking about. This is all I see outside. He's the only person. There's no co-pilot. He's the only pilot. There's no passengers. No one else is in this flying object. No one else is in there. It's just hovering over this land. It's very odd. He's very odd. The guy, his mind is almost, well, to me, insane. It's almost like his thoughts are unclear. His mind is almost empty. I can't depict what he's thinking. I can't tell if he's dangerous or just a regular person. Different from the type of person I'm used to. He just seems a little off to me, per se, or different, I'll say, to be nice. But he just seems so secretive. Like, I really can't, almost like he knows I'm there, but I doubt he does. If he did that, it'd be a little weird. But he's just, it's like he's controlling his thought to not be felt, almost. I'm just gonna follow him, stay in here, see where he's going. He's kind of landing. He's landing in a it looks to be old shack. It's got a tattered type of roof, a tattered type of roof here or whatnot. Old shack, very closed, bricked in. It's like a garage or something. It's just very weird. He didn't land. He landed in this very open land, a whole lot of open land, and not an airport at all. Clearly, this is what I'm seeing is it's like does Superman keep his ship in a garage or something? This guy, I'm kind of just waiting for him to press some button and this shack turns into some unforeseen type of structure, but I'm probably just going crazy here. But it is very weird that this is where it's almost like this is the home of the object. This is where the object is usually kept. I'm gonna. It's weird. I'm just gonna go back to where we were hovering to see what he was hovering over. There seemed to be a specific building that there seemed to be like a specific structure that was alone or further away from the others in that grid, and I'm gonna go check it out, see what he was hovering over. Maybe I'll find something. It's very like I said, grid is very flat. This is an air view of what I'm looking at. And it's very minimal foliage at all, really. It's almost none. It's just, that's about really it. Very few. Did they cut them down or did they just not grow? I'm not sure, but it's a very gappy place, very spacious, flat land, almost like a field, but you can see the gridded pattern with the patches, the grass, the few little tiny structures that are there. The few, it's, there was a bigger building here. This is what he was hovering over. There's a few little structures here. Not like, and this is a poor example, but like there's space, like in between all of these structures, a huge amount of space. There's, one is, and they're not big or tall. They're shack-like or house-like, I guess. It's very, like I said, nothing much here. This is a lot of space. This is all open space. This is flat land. This is a large amount of space here. Like it would take quite a while to walk from here to here, even here to here so much. But this is a weird building that we were hovering over. And I'm going to go inside and see what's in there. Maybe he was about to go in there and change his mind. I'm not sure. The shack place was very far, kind of over here-ish, further away from this. But this building is very, inside is very gray, dull, dark. It's very old looking, almost not in this decade. It's got tables, but not many, like countertop heavy tables, a few chairs. It's kind of puts me in the feel of an old warehouse or a meat shop. It's got hooks going on, the chains. It feels very bins, tables. It feels very, very abandoned, but there's no cobwebs. Like it can't be abandoned, and most places that are abandoned have a cobweb type thing going to it. There's not much dust. It's dusty enough because it seems to be some type of a shop or lab workshop, but it's just very weird. It's very weird. I can't, it could be like there's no telling what it could be. If you would ask me to guess, I would say like a crazed scientist home or a place, a disturbing place. I don't get a very comfortable feeling, but maybe that's just me. Like I said, this whole environment is out of my whole feel of what a city or town would look like. And I'm gonna check out the whole outside view, what it really looks close up, because I just kind of jumped into this building here from the air. This was a far air-like view, but what I really see fully is very, like I said, grid-like, flat rows. It's not a big place at all. It's got little small, very small structures. Very small structures. This is truly what I see here. I'll call this a road. At first I was thinking it was very Phoenix-like because it was so flat, but this is not a city. This is not a city that I know of. It's no Atlanta, no New York. It's not a Chicago or a LA. There are no tall buildings. It's flat, and this is just the rows that I see here. It's just this very flat land. And I guess this is just the way the road, how it's gridded. I'm not sure. This is the whole compilation of the buildings that are there that I see, or structures of some sort. It's almost I can't. This is really. I mean, I don't see a city. I don't understand. Like I said, there's minimal foliage. There's a drop here, drop there. Like if people are here, can they live without trees? Can there be life if there aren't any trees? It's really not much greenery. I don't see many animals. I don't feel too many. These are some long buildings that I'm seeing. Like I said, these buildings are not the average type of building you would see in a city. This is really, and like I said, these are open spaces. These are not close. These are very flat lands. These places are not close together all the way. Like, it'll be a couple of buildings here and a few here and a few here, and it's like I said, Phoenix is even way bigger than this. It's so flat. I've never seen a place like it's unordinary. It's why are there no trees? No foliage, no. It's just a very flat place. I felt like feeling this place. I feel like I'm lost or in the middle of nowhere. I feel like it would take me a while to get somewhere if I needed to be there. Just exploring this place is very new, different. Like I said, I don't think I'm even in our decade. I think I'm in a completely different decade or time period. A completely different place. It's with that grid. Like I said, we have. Why was the guy hovering over one? Why was it hovering? Can a plane or jet or drone or whatever it is, can it hover? It like a helicopter, but it wasn't a helicopter. It just sat there. And it parked in a shack. I don't know. I don't know what this is what I see. It's very weird. I don't, and come to think of it, I don't even think I feel like the flying object, I'm wondering if it could have even been seen by other people. There's so many questions, but this is what I have.
With this session by Princess, notice how closely her data resemble the geographical structure of the rectangular patterns that reside on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. This is evidence of really great remote viewing. The rectangular patterns cover a huge area with lots of land between the grid lines. That is exactly what Princess perceives. While Dick Algar was attracted to what appears to be a major city within this area, Princess appears to stick to a wider angle view of the overall pattern. The entire pattern is probably too big to be only a single city. There were lots of structures that were located on the grid lines, but also lots of flat land between those lines. Any city that existed in that area would have been more concentrated in a localized section of this pattern. The odd-looking aircraft that Princess perceived is also of interest. Remote viewers go to a location, and the target definition simply helps position them in that location. Once they are there, they end up describing that which attracts their attention. That aircraft does not look like anything we fly today, and we might consider it a bonus in the data, something that helps us flesh out more of what civilization may have been like in that day. With the third target in this series, the viewers are to explore and describe the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean. The target time should be the time that best reveals the cause and nature of the event or process. That is, we now want the viewers to perceive as explicitly as possible whatever happened to the place, such that it ended up the way it did. Starting again with the results obtained by Dick Algar, his data suggests that the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean involved human activity within a technologically advanced work environment. Moreover, the masses were aware of the event or process, and there was some attempt to explain what was going on to people. There is some evidence of grief and crying. The viewer correctly describes this populace as an ancient people in a historic setting. In terms of the general environment, he finds that many large structures, but not skyscrapers, are there. The place reminds him of Washington, D.C., Paris, or the Vatican. There are crowds, noises, city sounds, and even pollution of the type you would expect in a city, including tobacco smells. There are multitudes of skeptical people gathered together to hear someone speak. Here is what some of these places looked like. We will see later that these people were apparently gathered to hear descriptions of what was taking place. the ultimate delivery of bad news. Let's now move to the session for this target done by Princess Genet. This was a very emotional session for Princess to do. Here it is, the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean, recorded live as seen and described by a remote viewing eyewitness who watched it happen. It is best if you simply see it for yourself.
So I'm here exploring target 93514269, and I'm getting a mixture of land, water, and structures, but it's not making much sense. It's very chaotic. It's a lot of activity going on. I can't. It's a lot of land and a city or a town, and a older looking city or town, but or whatnot. I can't tell if it's three different towns that all this is going on, or if it's the same, because there's a lot of subtle differences. Like one is, this is very, like, the structures are further apart or whatnot. It's not your average, city. It looks a little different than a city or whatnot, but but they're just a little further apart, and you kind of get the point here with my land or whatnot. But then there's I probably should have drew that a different color. But then there's another one that's, or again, like I said, I'm not quite sure. It's like the buildings are closer together or whatnot, somehow, but not necessarily touching. They're just almost like they've just been placed a little closer or whatnot. And if y'all know me, y'all know I'm not the best drawer, so don't mind me right now. But a lot of the things are kind of like that. They're just a lot closer than they are over here. They're more spread apart. They're kind of closer here, but with the other one, it's almost like they're so close, but they're leaning or broken and wet. Almost or tattered, like the city had been torn or something. I'm gonna, like I said, don't mind. These are my buildings. It's weird. I'm gonna try. Excuse me. I'm gonna try to go back in time the whole way to see if I can actually catch what's happening, because it's weird. It's or to explain see if these are three different places or if this is all the same place and something's happened to it, because it kind of has the same feel. Each place has the same feel, but I'm not sure what happened. So I'm gonna try to just go into time and see what I see and hear, and as there's a lot of noise, chaotic action happening. It's a lot of screams or whatnot. So I'm guessing that there's people around here somewhere. I just can't find them. I'm gonna try to place them. A lot of people, actually, they're very frantic in this city here. They're frantic here. I hear groaning sound or splashing sounds, rushing water and groans, kind of like when a building settles or whatnot. There's a lot of water, rushing water sound, but is it like a flood? My feet are wet. I'm all over. There's so many different places. It's like the building is like the feet are wet. The whole way through here. The land is wet, but is it a flood? Because you see things floating. You can see other smaller structures and pieces of things and it floating. Like, is it a flood or you hear crashing? I can't tell if it's crashing of water or things. It's so much. Rain or water. It doesn't feel like it's a rain because it's not coming from everywhere. Water coming out of the sky or whatnot, but as I keep, it's not coming out of the sky. It's coming at me. It's like it's rush. It's oh. It's rushing. It's over. It's going through and over the city. Whatever this water is, it's just going through, and it's not rain. It's like a tidal wave or a tsunami of some sort. It's just engulfing the whole city. This is the same place. It's engulfing the whole entire city. This place is covered. It's broken. There's broken trees. There's buildings. People. It's gone. It's completely gone, and it just looks like a giant wave just destroyed. Oh wow! And it's just continue. It's not rain. It's I'm feeling the extra water from the wave, and it just swooshed through the whole city, or town. It's crazy. You can see it shaking. The city submerges in water. The land is moving. The land itself. I'm gonna draw that up here somewhere. The land is moving together, but it's not an earthquake. But you can feel the ground shifting. It looks or feels like it. You just see land shifting and moving. This is a total different section. You just see land shifting, moving, shakeage of it. But again, this is not an earthquake. It covered in water. With water, there's water everywhere. This ground is wet. But it's moving, it's shifting with the buildings. You see floating buildings. You see, it's very scary. You see darkness. You see gray over the city. It's not a shiny day. It's very dark, gloomy. How it looks. The sky is here. But it's not like it was a rainstorm. I guess it's just not a good day with this water engulfing, dripping, and coming over everything. It's just taking over this whole city. These people are terrified, and it's God. This is really giving me such a headache because there's so much going on at once, and I can't put a time. My heart is beating so fast. It's like I said, all these buildings went from being spaced out to just getting closer in distance. Like this is just getting closer. They're moving in. The city is gone. It sounds. It's almost like someone opened the sea and just lashed it out on the city. It's very devastating. And scary. I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's so much. I don't know what caused it. I don't know. I don't know if it was it a storm, or did it storm? Was it rain that caused it? Was there just a shift? Was it a tsunami? It's very dark. I don't know. That's wow, my head is really spinning right now. Seeing, feeling all this. It's okay. That's all that there is right here with this target. Just chaos and movement and wet. It's wet. If there are people and they survive this, I don't know what they have left.
Now let's move down to the ocean bottom off the coast of Antarctica to examine the second target location, the so-called Antarctic Grid. Princess did not do sessions for that geographical location, so we show only the work from Dick Allgaier for this target. Now, for this target, the viewer is to describe the terrain as it is now at the bottom of the ocean in order to determine the meaning, cause, or significance of the patterns shown in the target image. For this target, the viewer was aware that he was slipping in time, which is a very common thing to experience in remote viewing. He knew and clearly stated that he was looking at something at one time and then connecting it to human activity in another time. The viewer clearly perceives a target involved in a cold and remote area with glaciers, rugged terrain, and deep furrows in the ground, all of which correspond nicely with the target image. However, the viewer also perceives that the target involved human activity of a highly technological sort, which resulted in a catastrophic release of energy. He finds a huge piece of land that broke off and fell away, producing a steep cliff with glaciers on one side. Human activity resulted in an enormous blast of energy that cracked the ground with a traumatic, powerful force. Slipping in time to the human activity that created the blast, the viewer perceives highly trained people sitting at complex computer consoles with multiple monitors. The environment seems more scientific than military, but the activity seems associated with controlling a power plant of some sort, perhaps nuclear. The controls are partially of the dial and button variety, but the operator also is linked up with the controls using some sort of neural interface that is placed on his head. There are also sensors for his hands and fingers that are used to control the machinery. Some of the images in this session are startling. What did this target location look like when it was in its optimal state before it sank to the bottom of the ocean in Antarctica? This is the focus of the next target for this project. According to Dick Allgaier's session for this target, it was a technologically advanced city or large facility that had many structures and people. His data suggests that people of authority may have been present and that there was an unfolding of an event or process that was both unexpected and catastrophic. This event involved human activity that went out of control, resulting in a crisis of severe proportions. The viewer even perceives some leader, like a president or other important official, being led to a secure area, like a bunker, during what was perceived as a state of urgency. The leader was civilian, but he and some of his advisors were led to the bunker by military people in uniform. There was a rush to all of this, since events were transpiring quickly. The viewer states that the setting reminded him of World War II, when intelligence people would get information, assemble it, and then have runners take the reports to distribute it to other locations in the command center. This was a heavily developed facility, where some of the structures were above ground, while other structures were extending at least 10 stories below the ground. This is a modern facility near a waterfront with lots of cement and asphalt. There were loud noises issuing commands or information over loudspeakers. The viewer even reports the sense of a continuity government, or a government that would continue in the event of a major disaster. There is a huge survival command bunker here, but at this crucial moment before the end, some of the people could see clearly what was about to happen, and they could not believe their eyes. Some prayed for the first time. They were uncertain as to what to do. There was disbelief, even though they knew this was possible. They could see what was happening with the computer readouts. Nothing could really prepare them for what they saw happening. There was a complete loss of control. The people had a combined sense of awe and disbelief. It was almost as if they did not know whether to laugh or cry. Some of the sketches in this session, well, they're bone-chilling. Now we want to explore the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean off the coast of Antarctica, which is the next target. In Dick Algire's sessions for this target, he describes an event or process that involved a deep shaft drilled into the earth and a huge explosion that was associated with what appears to be volcanic activity. An entire civilization was destroyed in the aftermath. The authorities attempted to maintain control of the panicking and rioting masses, but apparently all was lost. The people were screaming and out of control, and the society simply fell apart. A huge yellow plume of energy arose from the ocean, like the sun underwater, easily visible from space. A tsunami of immense proportions occurred. The land was inundated. From the viewer's drawing, the explosion of energy ripping through the planet's crust seemed to have been nearly the size of Australia. Now let's move to the extra target that was included for each geographical location. Let's begin with the Antarctica target, which was done by Dick Algire. For the seventh and final target in this project, the goal was to locate and describe the point of origin that triggered and thus initiated the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean off the coast of Antarctica. Here, we want to identify as clearly as possible what actually triggered the event. From Dick Algire's session for this target, the point of origin that triggered and thus initiated the event or process that resulted in the target to be located at the bottom of the ocean was an explosion of nearly unimaginable proportions, including a mushroom cloud in a highly populated area near the sea. This resulted in the land mass sinking and the water surging to cover the land. A great deal of technologically advanced infrastructure was submerged. Apparently, there was no way to save the populace, and nearly all were lost. Also, the populace was notified of the events as they were unfolding, and there was a dumbfounded acceptance of the inescapable consequences of the situation. Underground bunkers were useless. In such a situation, everything was destroyed. This was science gone bad at its worst. Princess Genet did a parallel session, but for the anomaly that is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. The target for this session was to determine the point of origin for the process that resulted in that anomaly to end up at the bottom of the ocean. And as it turns out, it seems that the explosion that resulted in the Antarctica anomaly to sink to the bottom of the ocean, that was the same thing that caused the Atlantic Ocean anomaly to sink as well. You best see Princess describe this for yourself.
Oh God, it's a lot. It's a lot going on here. It's a lot of structures and a lot of I'm just gonna use half the board today. A few foliage. Not too much, but it's definitely an urban city here that I'm seeing. Lots of structures. I even sense a little bit of water. Let me see if I can find it where it is. The buildings aren't your average shape. This is definitely a very modern environment. It's just nothing too old. It's almost futuristic, but not really. It's just a great urban city here. But a couple of roads. Let me see. Yeah, roads here. But I sense water. There's some type of I'm guessing it's a lift or a bridge of some sort, but it goes back and everything. Whoa. A roadish. Yeah, this is very bridge-like, and there's some water. Water here. Where's the interface? Water. Water's definitely right here. That is definitely water right there with the interface of the land water interface here. There's some buildings kind of here. A little bit more foliage and it's just a really big, huge urban city. There's kind of like buildings near the road, very close to it. Just, I've never really seen a city like this, but I don't travel much, so that could be, excuse me, that could be why I don't see many places, but it's just very, it's got a lot of, yes, going on here, but I'm sensing a lot of cloud dynamics. Maybe it's a storm or something. Let me see. No. There's a big, it's a really big, grayish. Here, let me get rid of these. It's a really big, grayish mushroom cloud-like thing here. It kind of covers this city. It's very I gotta sneeze again. It's very but it is shaped. It kind of looks like a spaceship or a mushroom cloud, as normal people would say, but to me it looks like a spaceship, and it kind of covers everything. But there's a lot of noise. It's a lot of I don't know if it's coming from this or from the city itself. It's got this pull to it. It's even affecting the water, the way it ripples, or I can't really explain it, what it's doing to the water, but it's like a magnetic pull to it, and you hear clashing. Like I said, the clashing isn't coming from the water. We know that's water. It's more so coming from, there's color in here. Blues, yellows. It's so weird. I don't know. I don't have, for lack of color. This is my yellow, blues and yellows coming from the cloud. Or thing. I guess it's a cloud, because it feels thick and fluffy, but different. It's not like I would imagine the fluffy white cloud feels. This feels different. It's not like a cloud in the sky. It's got all these lights and colors coming from it. It's like an explosion, but this isn't like a nuclear type of explosion. This is very, it's almost weird, like science, like a science lab blew up or exploded or something. It's like a lot of chemical reaction and pulling. You can feel the strength of it. It's very, very strong. I'm gonna check and actually see how far this goes. I'm gonna go probably 2 miles in each direction and see how far I can actually see this thing, cloud-like thing. Let me see. If I keep going, and I'm going as far, like I said, I'm going 2 miles. I'm actually going a little further, and I can still see it in each direction. It's like it's there. There's no end. You know, usually if you see something, you can tell there's an end to it. Let me try another direction. Just it's never ending. It's very, very big and magnetic and not normal at all. It's far. I'm gonna it's very, very far. This is so weird. So weird to me, and it's dark, like hovering over the city. Maybe I didn't go far enough. Let me try about 5 miles out and see 5 miles from where I am now and see what's it's still there. No, this is definitely not normal. It's definitely not a normal cloud. I'm actually going to try to go a little further into everything here. I'm gonna try to go up like 100 miles up from the atmosphere or the surface or whatnot. 100 miles above the surface just to see what we can find. And I'm just gonna keep going until I can't go anymore, because this is huge. This is very different. This is very different. So I'm gonna go 100 miles above surface. And I'm just gonna go and keep going this timeline, and it's still there. It's actually if you have the whole, I guess the top half of a planet or the top half of the earth, it almost covers it. This is the top half of the earth, and you see this. It's, oh wow, it's very large. It's like a whirl, like you would think it's a tornado engulfing, but it's flowing out. It's coming. It's covering. You would, and you can just, and this is above the earth above the surface. It's very dominant right in the center. It's very, and there's, wow, that's huge. Did that come from the city? The cloud in the city, there's something going on in the epicenter of this planet, of the earth here. It's very, let me make that a different color. Well, you can probably see it. It's weird. It's almost like there's a crack. I'm not sure. I'm gonna deeply investigate the actual, where it came from, I guess. It wasn't like a bomb. It's not like there's a nuclear attack. It's not like someone just dropped a bomb and blew something up. It's like it's stationed in a. It's like it's stationed. It's stationed in a little or a place, a section. Um, wow, where is this? Where is it? Where is it? There's like a building. It's just a plain building, and it's not. It doesn't. Wow. I'm very amazed at how large this explosion or cloud, this dynamic, whatever this. I'm very amazed at this, at how large it is. I'm gonna. Where did it start from? Explosion starting point. Where are you? There's this a building. It's a building, square-like building. Nothing really too, but it's far foliage. It's covered almost maybe on a hill, but it's definitely far away from the city. It's not a part of the city. It's maybe like a distance. It's it's definitely far enough to not be included in that urban environment, but it's close enough to where you can get to it from the urban environment. And there's a lot. There's three people. There's three subjects there. Two men, one woman. Those are my people. They're very frantic. But they're in control. They're frantic. It's like kind of like a, when you're in an operating room with a doctor, it seems like everything's chaotic and they're all over the place, but they're in control of what's happening. That's kind of how it feels. It's like they're rushing, like something went drastically wrong, and you can see them grabbing, getting everything, packing everything. It's like, are they running from something? You can hear crashing, clashing, dropping, breaking, glass breaking, or heavy. You see it in this building. It looks like a science lab almost, or what I would imagine a science lab to look like. You see these jars and machines. You see these tables. They have liquids, colored liquids inside them. You see dynamic, cloud-like dynamics or smoke or whatnot. Fog coming from bottles, but they don't look like they're focused. It's like they're trying to get out. You can't see. It's getting dark. It's over the whole, like, let's say this is the room. It's starting to feel. The people can't see. I can't see. It's starting to feel outwards and more, but they're trying. It just blows. It just blows. And I think the people are actually still in there, but it just goes It covers everything. You can't see. You can't hear. You see, like they were trying to get out, like they knew it was about to explode. They were trying to pack up as, it's like they were trying to pack up as much as possible because they knew this is all you see. It's darkness. It's like, but the colors, maybe the chemicals blew up. There's colors. You can hear melting. There's no actual fire or flame, but it's potent and it's dangerous and it's scary and it's got all these. I mean, these are not the colors, these are just the markers I have, but it's got all these colors coming from it. It's like a chemical, it's like a chemical inflamed cloud that, and it just gets bigger. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You see these yellow, orange, and it just blows. It's gone. It's like, it's wow. It's like I can't even catch my heartbeat seeing this and feeling this, and it's darkness. It's like death. That's horrible. It's like a death, like scary dark. What happened? That's all you can see everywhere through the city. There's how far did it really go? Is this what it looks like across the earth? Over the atmosphere? It shook like an earthquake. It shakes, it's shaking. It's like a giant, this is my version of shaking. It's like almost like it caused an earthquake, but I don't think that's it. Did it crack? Did it crack the earth? Was that what that line was? It's I lost my black pen. It's like you see this tunnel. Well, it's not even that big. You see this, or maybe it is. You see this tunnel like thing and a jolt, almost kind of lightning bolt jolt like coming. It's forming. Is this what they were doing? Were they creating something to get into the center of the earth? This is what caused what? What caused, did the tunnel cause the bang, or did the bang cause the tunnel? Did they know? It's everywhere. Did they know that whatever they did was going to explode, or did it explode and it caused whatever happened? I have so many questions. This isn't normal. It's very weird. It's very big. It's very dark. It's very scary. What were they doing? What did they do? I don't know. I don't know how. And this came and it covered that city and probably like half of the world. I don't even know where I am because this will be difficult for Earth to come back from. So where, what is, how? I don't even know what this is. It's just, phew.
Let's take a step back and reflect. If these remote viewing results are correct, is there any other physical evidence that humanity once suffered a horrific catastrophe, possibly of a volcanic nature, that killed off nearly everyone on the planet? Surely if such a huge explosion occurred in the ancient past, there would be some biological and possibly geological evidence of it. Interestingly, there may be such an incident, and it may be that contemporary scientists do not fully understand the origin of the event. According to many mainstream scientists, approximately 70,000 years ago, a tremendous volcanic event ripped open this planet and killed everyone except for a few thousand breeding survivors. That is, there may have been more survivors, but approximately only a few thousand were capable of breeding. Thus, everyone alive today is related to these same, say, 2,000 or 3,000 pairs of survivors from 70,000 years ago. This conclusion is obtained from genetic information for the current human population on our planet, something that has been called a genetic bottleneck in our history. The actual volcanic incident is currently referenced as the Toba catastrophe theory or the Toba event. The word Toba refers to Lake Toba in Indonesia. According to the theory, a volcanic explosion was followed by an abrupt change in the global climate and a dramatic culling of the human population. We don't need to agree as to whether or not Toba was the exact location of the explosion described in this remote viewing report. But what is interesting to note is that mainstream scientists are looking for a global event that contained both explosive and volcanic components that could explain a sudden and traumatic decline in the human population on this planet in the not too distant past. Moreover, it is of interest to note that the anomaly in the Atlantic Ocean is the antipode of an underwater location near New Zealand. The word antipode means the spot that is on the exact opposite side of the planet, as if you drilled a hole through the earth from one side to the next. Lake Toba is in the general location of this, in the sense that it is in the same general region of the globe. Also, this area near New Zealand has some of the thinnest crust on the planet and some of the highest concentration of lava rock on the planet. So, the evidence on the physical and remote viewing levels do seem to suggest that this area may have been the general location of the explosion. In general, these results suggest that about 70,000 years ago, human scientists and governmental people decided to conduct an experiment where they drilled through the crust of the Earth to reach the lava core below. They thought they could control the result, but in fact, they popped the balloon, so to speak. You see, the Earth is not a solid rock. It is a giant 8,000-mile diameter balloon of liquid rock that is kept under tremendous pressure. This giant balloon has an 8-mile thin crust. When you pop it, an explosion results that is not controllable by any known means. The explosion is greater than any nuclear explosion, and the result is the near total destruction of human life on the planet. This would be a nice historical puzzle to have solved if it also was not so directly connected to our current fate. You see, right now, there are ongoing attempts by well-funded researchers to do the exact same thing. That is, groups are right now trying to drill through the crust again, naively thinking that they could go down deep and safely take core samples. This is one of the many reasons why we need to have the widespread recognition of the remote viewing phenomenon as real. Unless we see these results clearly, and unless we recognize the folly of drilling through the crust of the earth, our fate will undoubtedly be the same as our ancestors who died 70,000 years ago. It is not safe to simply believe scientists who dismissively tell you, "Don't worry, we are experts, this is science, we know what we're doing." Mind you, I am a scientist and I love science, but I also know how ridiculous some of my colleagues can be when funding and egos get mixed together. Ominously, many questions remain. If these data are correct, and if the government really does know about the anomalies on the bottom of the ocean as representing evidence of a past and technologically advanced human civilization on Earth, why would the government want to keep this secret? And why hasn't anyone learned about this previously in school and in the media? The answer to this should be pretty obvious after giving it some thought. Many believe that we live in a world in which there is a tremendous amount of suppressed information. According to this line of thought, some of the so-called powers that be may know about this ancient civilization, but they would have an interest in keeping this information out of the public realm. Why? Because if there is one thing that the powers that be do not want, it is for people to rise up and tell them that they can't do something that they, the powers that be, otherwise would want to do. You can see this in everything from the development of genetically modified food to the construction of unsafe nuclear power facilities. Right or wrong, authorities everywhere don't like it when others interfere with their activities. Long ago, science gone bad ripped this planet apart in the past, and secrecy-cloaked science could do it again. That is why the powers that be don't want this to be taught in our schools. It would be a lesson in not trusting the authorities, and the authorities fear that they could lose their ability to control their own agenda. But there could be other reasons as well. If there was a previous advanced civilization on Earth in the not-too-distant past, there would be lots of buried technology, both underwater and under the ice in Antarctica. The last thing a superpower government would want to do is to broadcast this information, thereby triggering a technological gold rush in those areas, where other countries and corporations try to get some of the buried stuff to use for their own purposes. Secrecy is what superpowers do, and they are generally quite good at it.
The most unique thing about the target was finding out I was underwater. I don't swim. I can't swim. I don't even like water touching my face unless I put it there. So it was very weird to, when I'm looking around, not seeing light, not understanding, because I've never been submerged underwater before to where I could still see land. It's like a whole other universe under there. So it was very weird when I realized it and paid more attention, and you could almost feel it, the slowness that it makes when you're trying to walk in water. You could kind of feel that. Is it a pull or a push? I'm not sure, but you could kind of feel it, and it was so weird to me. It was like the most unique thing that was dealing with this target, and then realizing that with other parts of it, realizing water, watching it happen, watching it go underwater, and realizing that it was like a tidal wave happening, but not in a tidal wave sense, like what you would see on TV. It was like, do I run? Or if I run, will it even help? That's how I felt. So I can only imagine how the people in the actual city felt. And it was so different and weird dealing with water, a lot of water, not just in a boat or not just a submarine or not just even me going to the beach. It was a completely different, like, what is that? What's that movie that I watched? I think it was called Atlantis. It was a little movie that had little blue characters, but no, it wasn't the Avatar or anything, but it was a long time ago, and it was like an underwater world and aliens and all this stuff. And anyways, but it reminded me of that, and I kept feeling like that's where I was, but I wasn't sure. I thought that was just a cartoon. I didn't know it was real. So whenever I finally found out what the project was, when Courtney finally revealed everything to me, I was in awe. And then he pulled up this site where he had found that people were trying to drill into the earth again. And my first reaction was, didn't they learn from that already? Like, don't most scientists or anybody that's about to do something do research first? So if they did the research and they even remotely believe that all this stuff happened in a former time, why would you do it again? Like someone needs to tell these people. I think he said they were Japanese scientists. I can't remember at the moment, but I remember that as soon as he told me this, I was asking all kinds of questions. Like, for one, why would somebody try to drill a hole through the earth? If you're a scientist, you should know what the earth is made of and what happened. So why would someone do it again? And it was, they got to find out. I really hope they see this project, because I don't want to be not here anymore. It's scary to think about it happening again. It's scary to not know how to get this important information to the people that need it most. I'm dealing with, this is only my second project. I've done small, practice targets, or where I was learning, or even just, other things that have happened in the world that I've learned to do. But this is out of the projects, my second biggest one. And with these past two, they're both something that has been kept from us. And I've had conversations about small things like this, like, well, why the government hides so much from us? Why don't people want us to have knowledge of what happened in our past before we got here? If you know that something happened, why, or why we don't learn or know or hear about these things in history. It's a part of our history. It's a part of the world's history. So what grade is that? 9th grade, we have world history. That should be in our book somewhere. And everything, that I've, like I said, with these past two projects that I've done, Martin Luther King one and this one, they're both so many questions. Like, why don't I know this? Why didn't they tell us this? Why haven't they told anybody this? Why does it take me to have to even find it out? It's not fair. I don't think it's fair. I don't think hiding knowledge is fair. And I'm going to find a way to fix it one day.
When a project is finally wrapped up and we get feedback and look at our work, it's time to ponder it a bit and think, well, what did I learn from this one? This one was interesting. This one gave me a sense that as human beings, our perception of time, of linear time, is extremely distorted, and that we as human beings are both ethnocentric and temporal centric, meaning we only really consider and understand our own civilization and our own time period. I was born in the 1950s, so my awareness came of age in the mid-1950s, and I'm still here in the early 21st century, and that dilates that timeline for me from the 1950s to 2016 now. That is, I have so much experience in that. I have no experience in the past. World War II was before my time. The Civil War was a bit earlier before my time. When the Pilgrims arrived in America, that was a little bit earlier. Going back to, say, the Neolithic period, 10,000 years ago, to me that's just scrunched up back in the past. I have no sense of it because my timeline is dilated. Well, what this project gave me was a greater sense of the expanse of linear time that the Earth has been here. As I was working the targets, I first got a really barren, stark, simple place that turned out to be underwater with no structures, no technology, just a very simple, stark place with some patterns. That was the target queue. Working subsequent targets, I got technology. I got a civilization which seemed pretty similar to ours. I got drama, and I saw destruction. And at one point as I was working these targets, I thought, well, you know, what am I supposed to be getting here? What's the big picture? So I sat down and I did an ERV session. That's extended remote viewing. That's theta, experiential, not paper and pen. And as I kicked back and got into that place between asleep and awake, I found myself looking, a beautiful view by the way, at the planet Earth. I could see the entire planet there in space, this shimmering blue ball. And I was able to see it in different spans of time. So I could see it at a time when the continents were different. They were in a different place. The surface of the Earth, it was the Earth, but it was arranged differently. And I knew that I was seeing geologic time, Earth time, the metamorphosis of our planet Earth over a grand scale, millions and millions, billions of years. And what I get from this is that civilizations may rise and fall. The Earth changes. A million years is a tiny blip over the lifespan of the planet Earth. So it may be like you have a stage where you come in and you build a set, and it's a very complex set, and the characters come and put on costumes and they act out their drama, and you have a really intense play that takes part. And then when that play is over, the characters take off their costumes and disperse and go somewhere else. And you strike the set, you break down the set. But the stage is still there. So you can build a new set on that same stage, a different looking set, and new characters can come in with new costumes and new lines and have a new drama. And it seems like that's all there is at that moment, that's so important, that's the only drama on the only set. But there are other sets and other stages and other characters. Time is not linear, but even linear time is not quite as we comprehend it. Remote viewing, thankfully, I think gave me a little glimpse into that, and that's one of the great things about remote viewing was stepping back and seeing that bigger picture, and I think that's what I got out of this project.
This is a good reason why everyone on this planet may really want to know about these anomalies on the ocean floor. We need to know about our past in order to deal intelligently with our future. If you are impressed with the technological development of our civilization today, think again. We have done all this before and more, and it ended very badly. This was not some alien civilization that destroyed its civilization on a distant planet long ago. It was us, here on Earth. We need to learn about our past so that we can avoid our previous mistakes. Science and technological development are good, and we need both. But we were foolish in the past to ignore the risks associated with what we can do with our new tools and understanding, and we would be doubly foolish to keep our eyes closed again as we march forward in search of technological solutions to our current problems. Both scientists and governments are normally loath to outside oversight of their activities. It usually involves red tape, bureaucratic excess, and prying eyes. But when the fate of our entire world is at stake, can we really do without considering all the possibilities? This is one of the primary reasons why we need remote viewing, to be accepted by mainstream science. Remote viewing is a tool by which we can look to see what others have done, both previously and elsewhere, in terms of their accomplishments and their disasters. What better way to know of the future's possibilities than to witness them firsthand? As for myself, my primary interest is in the discovery process itself, not the games of the so-called powers that be. It is exciting to find out about an ancient and technologically advanced human civilization right here on Earth. I really look forward to the day in which we can take a submarine down to explore these ruins in a truly uncompromised and fully public exploration. But for now, the remote viewing sessions can tell us much about the essential story of what happened long ago. We humans have a complicated history on this planet. Indeed, this report may reflect only the tip of the iceberg in this regard. Stay tuned. More explorations using remote viewing with a large variety of topics are on the way. I am Courtney Brown, Director of the Farsight Institute. Thank you for watching.